Hey there, everybody. It's Michelle Prince. Hope everyone is having an awesome day. So, this is my third video to help you to get a book out and written in the next 30 days because, hey, listen, we're all home, right? So you're going to have the time now, probably more than ever, to really think about, what do you want to put into a book and how are you going to get it done? So part of these videos is to help you do that so that you can really hit the ground running. And when we are all done with all of this time at home, then you can emerge as an author. So what I want to focus on today is really the outline, because the first couple of steps, first we had to work on our mindset, right? And really thinking about, overcoming whatever's holding us back, but also just getting in the mindset that you do have something to put into a book. And when you do, that's how you can make a big impact in this world. The second step though was, okay, well, if I'm going to write a book, what on earth would I write about? And so last video, that's exactly what I shared. What was the formula to help you to find the perfect topic for your first book? And that's what, so go check that video out if you didn't catch it. And then this one is really more about, okay, now that you know your topic, how do you really get it out of your head and onto paper and put it in an outline that will help you to get the book written quickly? And so that's really what I want to talk about. Whatever you are writing about, whether it be a business book, whether it's a personal development book, you need a solid outline, meaning you need to know exactly what's going to go in each chapter, right? And from a high level, but then you also have to dive in and really, within each chapter have those sub-chapters. So how do you do that? Well, one way that we do it, that I do with all of my author clients, we do this at all of my book-bound seminars, is we use a tool called mind mapping. Now, I did not invent mind mapping, but, I happen to use it for book writing, and it is the best way to get all of these ideas that are floating around in your head and getting them out in a way that can be structured and organized. So how do you do that? Well, first things first is you grab a big sheet of paper. You can grab one of those big flip charts, you can grab a poster board, but you want to have enough room to really get your thoughts down. So what you're going to be putting on this paper, though, is not sentences. They're not paragraphs. They're trigger words, things that will remind you what it is that you were trying to, what you're going to put in that place. So one of the best ways to do this is to think about the topic of your book and then think, okay, what are the 8 to 10, maybe 12 main ideas that I want to talk about in this book? A really great way to do this, and this is something that I recommend for all of our authors, is pretend that you are having a conversation with somebody that is very, very important to you. It could be your best friend, it could be your child, it could be your spouse, but they come to you and they are desperately seeking the information that you have on that topic. So for example, my very first book that I wrote was called Winning in Life Now, How to Break Through to a Happier You. And it's a personal development book. And I had to sit down and think about, okay, if my son, one of my sons, I have 2 boys, if one of them came to me and said, Mom, I'm going through a hard time and I just need some help. I need some direction. I don't even know where to start. What would I tell them? And what I also suggest is pretend like you get one shot at giving them all of the best information that you have. And the reason I do this is because we have no problem sharing advice with people over coffee, over dinner, on the phone, right? Because we're not putting the pressure on us that we're writing a book yet. So do the same thing when you're building this outline. Pretend, for example, like if I had my son sitting in front of me and he says, Mom, what do I need to do to be a success in life? I'd say, well, first things first, you have to have goals. That would be one of the very first things that I would jot down. And by the way, let me explain what I mean by jot down. On this piece of paper, you start with a center circle, and you just kind of put either the topic or the title if you have it, but the main idea of the book, and then draw some lines, 8 to 12 of them, coming out from that middle. So these are those main big ideas, and you're going to write that keyword down. So going back to my book example, well, the first thing I would talk about is goals, right? You have to have goals. There's different types of goals. There's long-term goals, short-term goals. I'd teach them how to set goals, things like that. So that's one of the main ideas. Confidence, right? How do you have confidence? Self-image, self-worth. Talk about balance, relationships, and so many other main idea components are in that book, right? You're going to do the exact same thing. So you're going to be thinking about what are the main ideas? And then those are those 8 to 12 little circles around the main circle. Once you have all of the big ideas, the big thoughts of the book jotted down in just a keyword or two, and you wrote that down, now you're going to focus in on each one individually. So I mentioned the first thing on mine was goal setting, right? So now I do the exact same thing. What is everything I know about goal setting that I would want to make sure that my son knows about? Well, like I said, and by the way, you're doing the same thing on that little circle. You're going to draw maybe 4 to 6 lines coming out of that one. And these are the thoughts around goal setting. So, well, I'd want to talk about long-term goals versus short-term goals. I'd want to take them through the 7-step goal setting process that Zig Ziglar created. I'd want to talk about the importance of goals, why goals are important, in their life now and later. And you see what I'm saying? And those are all the things around that main topic. And what you're doing is you're trying to get everything out of your head that you can possibly think of related to that one area. And when you have, then you move to the next, and to the next, and to the next, and to the next. And I will tell you, by the end of it all, you will probably have a piece of paper that looks a little bit crazy like this. This is one of my mind maps for a book I'm working on right now. It doesn't have to look good to anyone else. It just has to make sense to you. Then once you have everything out on paper in all of these bubbles and it looks like kind of a mess, now you can put it in a more organized fashion and you can decide, okay, this is going to be chapter 1, this is the chapter, the subchapter, and by the way, when you're putting down these main points, you also want to add stories or examples so that people can get a visual of what you're trying to talk about. There's so much more on building an outline, but I hope that gives you enough to get you started. I'm going to be doing a master class on April 15th, and I would love to invite you. And we're going to dive into way more details on how to do some of these things, but it's totally free. You can go to, thepowerofauthority.com/masterclass and register, and then we'll send you all the information, but that's going to be next week. But until then, get started on your outline, start thinking about those main ideas, get everything out of your head onto paper, even if it looks like gobbledygook, and that is how you create your first outline to then take you to the next step, which is to start writing. Take care, see you soon.